Hello folks, Hollow Knight Silksong did release just a few days ago, temporarily breaking the Steam, PlayStation, Nintendo and Microsoft stores, with it reaching 530,000 concurrent players on Steam within the first few hours, and reaching a new peak of nearly 600,000 just a day or so ago. Unfortunately, for many other games, the past couple of weeks or so have been a very bad time to release, with many large titles subsequently suffering from the lack of limelight cast by Silksong Shadow, with one game in particular being Adventure of Samsara, having one of the most devastating launches I've ever seen. Whilst other titles seemingly spent the past couple of weeks announcing delays for their launches, which now, with everything said and done, was likely the correct course of action to take. Regardless, Silksong has seen massive success over the past few days, undoubtedly being the most anticipated Metroidvania of all time, so this very much begs the question, why is it being review bombed? Now, first things first, we've touched on review bombing on this channel a few times before, and I always get a few comments regarding the definition of the term itself, so just to make it clear, review bombing does not differentiate between negative or positive reviews, so to say that the game has been review bombed is not to say that the reviews are unwarranted or misleading, etc. Now, with that out of the way, upon Silksong first releasing, within the first few hours, its review score sat at around 97% positive, but then by the time 24 hours had passed, this had dropped to as low as 89%, with some of these Chinese reviews seemingly beginning to build up. While over the past few days, Silksong's review score has dropped quite significantly, it does keep changing by the day, so just before we check out its most recent score, I want to check out this article from yesterday, titled Hollow Knight Silksong sinks to mixed Steam review status among Chinese gamers over its bafflingly bad translation, with Team Cherry promising to improve it. And the article goes as follows. As reported by Eurogamer, Hollow Knight Silksong has not met Chinese players' expectations the way it has globally, with a 42% positive mixed review status from nearly 20,000 Chinese language users who say that the game's localization was abysmally and uniquely poor. Now, just to make something clear, it's referring to Steam's review filter options of being able to filter by language, and just glancing at this, we can see that mostly everything is positive, apart from the Chinese review score. Team Cherry has already responded to this issue, promising to work on the Chinese localization. We appreciate you letting us know about the quality issues with the current simplified Chinese translation of Hollow Knight Silksong, wrote the game's publishing and marketing lead Matthew Griffin. Will be working to improve the translation over the coming weeks. The reception among Chinese-speaking reviewers sharply contrasts with Silksong's reviews in all other languages it's available in, with an overall 80% very positive rating among over 80,000 reviews worldwide, of about 16,000 negative reviews worldwide. 11,800 of them are in simplified Chinese. So that's over 2/3 of all negative reviews being exclusively from China, the vast majority of which likely regarding this particular issue. So had this have never happened, we could say that the overall 16,000 negative reviews could actually be as low as 8,000 or even lower. Some commenters on Griffin's post have tried to elaborate on the specific issues at hand. Tiger Tang, who led the Chinese localization of 2020 RPG Omori, wrote that the main issues in Silksong's localization was creative, not grammatical. The current Silksong Chinese translation reads like a wuxia novel instead of conveying the game's tone, said Tang. This isn't about effort, but about taste and direction, and speaking from experience likely can't be fixed without replacing the translator. Others within the comments noted the same bizarre anachronistic quality Tang mentions, while it also reportedly devolves into total gibberish in places. Kotaku cited criticism from translation expert Loic van Kooten, who called Silksong's Chinese dialogue the equivalent of a high school drama club's Elizabethan improv night. Silksong had 2 people credited for its Chinese localization versus the game's team of 6. In a final twist, one of these 2 translators, Hertz Liu, appears to have been leaking details about the much-anticipated Silksong on social media. A June comment on the r/Silksong subreddit by user InfiniteLake7523 includes a screenshot of the Q&A on the Chinese site Tieba from a user named Hertz. Infinite Lake ironically thought this was a hoax, but said Hertz estimated a pre-Christmas release date and shared some of their plans for the localization. Is it still a review bomb if people are undoubtedly upset over a defective product? The current Chinese translation of Silksong sounds like that infamous restoration of, hang on, let me Google this, folks. Eche Homo. With issues this extensive and structural, I would expect Team Cherry to commit to an entirely new Chinese localization, but that will likely take some time. Now, unfortunately, this article doesn't actually give any examples to these translations, but I did manage to dig one example up, and to be honest, I think that's all we're going to need. We have this article from the 5th of September titled Silksong's Real Final Boss, the translator who broke his NDA and wrote like a dead poet. Nice. A tale of two texts. To illustrate the calamity, one need only place the original Hollow Knight's translation beside Silksongs. The original, no mind to think, no will to break, no voice to cry out in suffering, born of God and void, you are the vessel, you are the Hollow Knight. Concise, clean, and haunting. Now behold the Silksong version, which players were forced to endure, rendered here in English as the grotesque monstrosity it resembled. With nary a spirit nor thought shalt thou persist, bereft of mortal will, unbent, unswayed, with no lament nor tearful cry, only sorrow's dirge to herald thine eternal woe, born of gods and of the fathomless abyss, grasping heaven's firmament in thine unworthy palm, shackled to endless dream, tormented by pestilence and shadow, thy heart besieged by phantasmal demons. Thou art the chalice of destiny, verily, thou art the primordial night of hollowness. I'll be honest, folks, I didn't like doing that one bit. But one can imagine the reaction. Players did not feel immersed in Farloom. They felt trapped in a high school club's Elizabethan improv night. Instead of fighting for survival, they were decoding riddles with the cadence of a failed King James Bible. It is impossible to perform platforming precision when the screen itself sounds like a plague sermon. Anyway, that does very much clear up mostly why the overall review score for Silksong is dropping at the rate it is. If we have a quick look right now, the previous article stated that Silksong had 80,000 reviews worldwide, in which 16,000 of them were negative reviews, and over 11,800 of those negative reviews were all in simplified Chinese. As of me writing this script, which is the night before this video is being published, we have 110,000 reviews instead of 80,000, with 24,000 of them being negative instead of the 16,000 before, and over 18,000 of these are in simplified Chinese instead of the previously stated 11,800. So, in the space of less than 24 hours or so between yesterday's video and this video being written up, the game did receive 30,000 more reviews, 8,000 of which were negative, and over 6,000 of those were in simplified Chinese. Silksong is still impressively maintaining an overall positive review score, with 22,000 of the previously mentioned 30,000 reviews all being positive. However, if this volume of negative reviews does continue, the game will see some long-lasting damage to its score that may or may not have significant impact on its overall success. Silksong is one of those rare instances of the game being successful regardless of this review bombing, where despite the negative reviews, many gamers are likely to purchase and play anyway, just because of the hype and renown that has been built up for this title over the past 8 years. So overall, what this all means in the long run, I truly don't know, but it is certainly happening, and that is why we're reporting on it. As for its overall review score currently, the previous footage used was from last night. However, I have some fresh footage from just an hour or so ago, and the numbers are as follows. Silksong now sits at 77% positive reviews, with over 115,000 reviews in total, and the exact split being 90,000 positive and 27,000 negative. Total Chinese reviews have grown to 30,000, and the positive-negative split is now 12,000 positive and 18,000 negative. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on this moving forward and circle back if there's any new and worthy developments. As I previously mentioned at the beginning of this video, Adventure of Samsara released the same day as Silksong, and it's coincidentally enough a Metroidvania, very similar to Silksong in almost all ways, same genre, release date, price point, gameplay loop, etc. So I decided to purchase the game a few days ago, and I'm working on a comparison video between the two, taking a game with a peak concurrent players on Steam of nearly 600,000 and comparing it to a very similar title that launched on the same day to only a max concurrent players of 12. Essentially to see if the disparities between the two are warranted and which game is objectively better, etc. What I will say right now is anyone interested in Silksong should be interested in Adventure of Samsara, especially if you finish Silksong and want more of more or less the same, so do keep an eye out as that video should be out within the coming days. Outside of this, we are covering Mistfall Hunter as of the 16th of this month, so just a week or so away, and then come the 14th of November, we will be adding Where Winds Meet to the channel also. Mistfall Hunter being a PvPvE extraction looter with heavy Norse themes and combat very reminiscent to Souls-like or action RPGs, and Where Winds Meet is a single-player / MMO action-adventure RPG, which is quite unlike anything I've ever played, and between the two games, we should have a strong and solid backbone for PvP and co-op content being included to the channel, in addition to all of the news and guides I already make for many different single-player titles. Beyond this, we have the likes of Valar Mortis releasing a playtest later this month, and then various other titles such as Onimusha, Phantom Blade Zero, Black Myth Song Hoi, etc., all with new announcements just a few weeks ago, and all set to release within the coming years. So, between the titles we already have, those we're adding before the year's through, all big future titles announced for the coming years, and any others we do happen to stumble across and cover along the way, there should be more than enough to keep the channel fresh. Anyway, that is just about as much as I want to rabbit on for this video. I do of course have a range of guides and news videos on the channel already, so do feel free to stop on by and check things out. Otherwise, thanks for watching folks, and until next time, peace.